You know, have you ever thought about that moment when your brain understood that the object that you're looking at has a very distinct and correct usage and not the made up one that your brain thought it was?
Take a spoon, for example. Many people would define a spoon as an instrument you use to eat. But the child will see this as a spaceship or some other toy. Now, if I asked you who has more creativity, a child or you? Well, you would probably say a child has more creativity than you do. But why? Well, a child may have more creativity because they have more freedom, they have less things, less important things to think about. And also, they just they just do. But what if I told you that you and the child both have the same creativity? And if I put you and the child in a room to tell a story about this spoon, then you and the child could both write a creative story.
Well, let's start with children. Why are children so creative? Well, one reason is because they have these amazing toys that spark their imagination and creativity. But that's not the main reason. The main reason why kids are so creative is because they don't know the correct usage of an object is. When you are a child, you believe that everything is to be played with and everything is a toy. And that is where parenting comes in. And as we grow older, we try to figure out the correct usage of an object. So when we are just children and trying to figure out what a spoon is for, we think it is just a toy to be played with.
But then, if kids are creative by trying to figure out the correct usage of a object and just thinking everything is a toy, then what is stopping us from thinking like this? Thinking that everything is a toy. Well, what's stopping us is our immense knowledge of what we already know of what an object should be used as. Because if you already know what an object should be used as, like a spoon, then it is extremely hard to go back and play with the object once you know the correct usage of the object. This is why it is so hard for us to be creative as we get older. But then, if we always see things like this, then how can we see things in a child's point of view? Is it possible for us to see an object and create a story, a creative story for that object, even though we already know the or correct usage of that object?
Well, believe it or not, there is actually a way to do this. Now, it might work for some people and it might not work for others. But what you need to do is, instead of taking a break and watching YouTube videos or scrolling on social media, go and take a walk and look at an object and find an object and think about what it could be. Don't think about what it is. Think about what it could be. Because then you are thinking like a child. And another step up is to think, how could this be used as a toy? Now, some objects may be harder, like a fire hydrant or a fireplace, but others may be more simpler, like a spoon or a cup. So I encourage you to think of those things when you need a break. But there is also another way to be creative. And like I said at the beginning of this episode, you and the child both have an equal amount of creativity. Now, some of you may think, well, that's great and all for when I'm a teenager or for my teenager years. But what happens if I'm an adult and I can't
do this and I don't have the time to implement this. And do adults just lose all their creativity because they don't have time to do this? Because they just don't have time on their hands? Well, depending on where you head in your life, creativity might disappear, but it will always be with you. It might be with more people than others, but creativity can be with adults too, because think of all the games you've played, and everything you use, every chair you sit on, everything you own has a design and was created for you and is creatively thought of. So adults do spend some of their lifetime, if they follow the right path, if that's their path, they do have creativity. If that is their path, they can implement it. If you have any questions, put them down below in the comments. And if you really liked how I broke down this video about creativity, then you'll probably like this video where I break down another cool hidden feature about an everyday object. And I'll see you over there.